She's kept a dignified silence through this. So has her husband Samar Halankar, both journalists, and both joining me tonight, Priya Ramani and Samar Halankar. Priya, we are focusing, and Samar, we are focusing so much on this victory today, but really I think so many women across the country are smiling at this judgment today, and of course men as well. So Priya, for you, what was the most important thing that stood out? I remember when you had stood in the dock, as it were, when you gave your defense, and you said, my only defense is the truth. Do you feel that's actually what is vindicated today?
Absolutely. And I feel that sexual harassment at the workplace has got the attention it deserves. And despite the fact that it was me, the victim, who had to stand up in court as the accused, I thank the court for its amazing verdict. And it's just a very humbling moment for me.
In fact, I do think that Judge Pandey's verdict, when you read it, is actually so, it actually lays down the guidelines, a precedent for so many other women who may have gone through the same thing, as it were. And I think the important points he raised out, one, the most important perhaps, is that there's no time limit really, that a woman at that moment may not even realize what's happening to her. And in fact, MJ Akbar had said that because you made this allegation 20 years later, it actually had no standing in a sense. And the fact that you can make this allegation anyway, it's actually a woman's choice to make that. Do you think this stands out for you as well? What stood out for you in his words today?
Yes, I mean, pretty much. I haven't read the judgment, but definitely the fact that women should use any platform they can to tell their stories is something that is of global importance, not just in the Indian judiciary. And it's a victory that belongs to everyone who spoke up in the Me Too movement, and it's a verdict that they'll all embrace and feel hopeful about.
Samar, if I can bring you in, because really it's so important at a time like this. So whenever a woman decides to speak out, that they have a support system, whether it's a husband, whether it's friends, whether it's in-laws, however you want to term it. You've written about how this trial, in a sense, turned Priya's and yours lives upside down, because you'd actually moved away from Delhi, you were in Bengaluru, you all were settled there, and this suddenly came out of the blue.
It has definitely taken a toll. We had to fly back and forth between Delhi and Bombay. I think we perhaps made more than 20 trips. But the brunt, of course, has been taken by Priya, because it has been a tension-filled time. There's been trauma, there's been stress. But I think in the end, it's very important to have the support system. I think all of the lawyers have been amazing. All of Priya's and our friends who have always showed up in court time after time. So I think it's very important to have a support system, but eventually at the end of the day, I think it's important to have self-belief and determination. And I think both those qualities Priya exhibited in ample manner, and I'm very proud of her.
Mm-hmm. Did both of you ever think that, you know, why did you speak out? And first to you, Priya, and then Samar, because at that time, I remember, and when the news came out as well, I mean, he was a minister. He is still a BJP Rajya Sabha MP. You're taking that on your own. Did you ever think that maybe I should have just stayed quiet?
Never. Not for 1 minute ever. All I felt was, of course, I felt stress and anxiety and, weighed down by the responsibility. But I always felt that better me than anyone else, because I had amazing legal support. I had amazing support from friends and family. And I felt that if anyone could fight this, I could.
Mm-hmm. Samar, what did you think when Priya first told you? Because of course you'd first written about it in a year earlier, and then you actually named MJ Akbar during the Me Too movement. Samar, did you think perhaps it would have been wiser for her not to take a name? Because so many women are told by their families, don't speak out. Why get into this? In fact, we're seeing a repetition when we see the arrest of student activists, that silence, stay silent.
Well, yes, I only want to say that when she first wrote about it and tweeted about it and, told me about it, my only reaction was, oh, oops. And then I said, okay, if that's what's happened, that's fine. And if you've chosen to do this, then let's go for it. I think all through our journalism career, we have had the privilege of working with people who have inspired us to, to use that cliche, speak truth to power, and never be silent about anything. And certainly we have learned that from our parents as well. And I think which is what Priya did. And once she did that, there was no question of backing down. Then we knew that whatever it is, we were in this for the long haul, and that we were going to see this through. And that's what she did.
Priya, and really, you as an individual, in a sense, became a symbol for something that was so much larger. Even in your article, when you wrote, you were then, I think, in your 20s, meeting somebody who was an idol, a man of power, a man who had a wonderful journalism career, somebody who you looked up to. And that person then let you down. When you wrote about him being a predator, in fact, he used your words against you in court, saying she herself admitted, I didn't do anything. That's, when we're defining sexual harassment, when you're looking at what it actually means, in a sense, so many women could identify with you but didn't know how to frame it. The judge, in a sense, has given this also a definition today by accepting that even this falls under the ambit of sexual harassment, even if the person didn't do anything in a physical sense.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Sonia. And I just want to say that even members of my extended family, even the most conservative uncle or aunt or whatever, not once did anyone tell me, why did you do this? They only said, we support you.
What is the larger message that you feel goes out to young journalists, young women who have faced a similar situation? Did other people come up to you with their stories? Did you find that it actually became, that you unwittingly perhaps became part of a larger movement or symbolism your case became? Because a lot of women came who didn't even know you to the courtroom.
I actually only spoke up because I was it was this larger movement that inspired me to speak up. I saw young women telling their horror stories on social media, and I saw people who had worked with MJ Akbar and people who knew of MJ Akbar saying, when will those floodgates open? And I felt it was my responsibility to speak up as an older woman who had an experience and who had heard of many other such experiences.
Samar, again, what do you think, do you look for change? What do you think are the implications of a verdict like today, beyond, of course, the vindication for Priya and you? What do you think are the implications of today's verdict, and what do you hope to see actually change with this?
I think the lessons that are most important from this verdict are actually for men. And I say this as a man, that it is the men in India, from a society which is still deeply patriarchal and very troublingly patriarchal, and it continues to be so. I think it's men who need to take the biggest message out of this, that it is time to stop putting women up merely on a pedestal of worshipping them as goddesses and things like that, and start accepting women as equals. That, I think, is the most important message. This is just one big step today, but I think this is a long, hard battle. There's a big, long, strong wall ahead, but it's been breached today. And if it's been breached once, it can be breached again.
And finally, also, when you talk about speaking truth to power now, whether it's about sexual harassment, whether it's about climate activism, whether it's about any kind, whether it's about dissent, do you think that's an interesting timing today as well, Priya? It's about being able to speak out and not being intimidated, even though, as I said, the case involved a union minister.
Absolutely. And Sonia, I must say, I feel like slightly overwhelmed at getting this amazing positive victory in an India which is clamping down on dissent, and in an India in which so many young women are in jail for speaking truth to power. And the latest example, as you yourself just pointed out, is 21-year-old Disha Ravi. My thoughts are with her and all other women who have been incarcerated who are currently imprisoned for no fault of theirs.
Absolutely, and I have to say that to Judge Ravinder Pandey also, it's interesting that lower courts are coming out with, we had a wonderful judgment on sedition yesterday from a lower court, and it's wonderful that from Judge Pandey also, I think, a great judgment there, which, as I said, far-reaching consequences. So thanks so much, Priya and Samar. Finally, time to celebrate this evening after 2 years of...
Thank you so much.
After 2 years of being in a court, Tariq pe Tariq. So congratulations to both of you, and thanks very much.
Thank you, Sonia.
Thank you.
Thank you.